Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I can see a number of cameras going up, so clearly a very eclectic and exciting panel here. A large one as well, so probably without spending too much time talking about common stuff. This is Ankur. I look at everything growth and marketing at WebEngage. We are a user engagement platform. Of course, you're welcome to drop by and talk to the team about more stuff. And here we have the topic which is around tech-enabled collaboration. You know, omnichannel world is a reality. I think whoever wasn't paying attention to this subject was forced to do that during the COVID period. Most of us have had seen a meaningful transformation of the share of business coming from the online ecosystem. But it's not just the consumer angle, there's also a lot of technology adoption. We just saw the presentation from the Mahindra team around how they've really transformed inventory management, for instance. That was a topic I would catch on. But, you know, it's a complex subject. It's a long journey. Most people would go through a spectrum of incremental gains on the whole tech collaboration piece across multiple frontiers. So maybe what would be a good idea, you know, what we had a quick chat with the panelists before the session, is to quickly introduce themselves, of course, where their nirvana for tech collaboration lies, where they are in their journey today, and what do they see as the next opportunities. Maybe in a second round of, we'll just go over what are the challenges they encountered and how they dealt with it. So maybe we'll start with you here.
Hello. Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Good evening to all. My name is Rittick Burman. I am representing a company. I'm the executive director, and I'm from Khadim India Limited. Just a short introduction. Maybe all of you do not know what Khadim is in Bombay. So Khadim's is the second largest footwear retailer in terms of number of stores presence in the country. We've got 800 stores across the country, and our strongest markets are Eastern India and Southern India. So the topic today is omnichannel, the omnichannel aspect that has come into the retail business, especially after COVID. So I would like to speak a little bit about our journey. We at Khadim's, since COVID kicked in, we at Khadim's had started our omnichannel journey in a very small way in the year 2019, where we started with around 20 stores in that year. In the beginning, it was a lot of there was a lot of challenges, as you know, doing omni comes with its own challenges, where you have to train the store managers to ship the goods, pack the goods, take the returns. It did take its time, but slowly from a very top-down approach, what we did is we set up individual targets for each of our stores for omni sales on a per-day basis, and we began to incentivize our store managers and our customer care executives. And over this last 2 years, we are happy that now we are live in almost 300 stores of ours through this omnichannel model of business, and we are doing about 10% of our sales are coming from this. Omnichannel in both ways, that is, one is through when the customer doesn't find a product in our stores, we tell them that we'll prepay it and supply it to you in your house. And also our stock is in the cloud, so that, you know, any Myntra or Flipkart order can be also delivered from here. Yeah, that's it. And our endeavor is to increase it to the rest of the 500 odd stores very shortly. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek Bajpai. I am the CEO for Apparel Group India. Apparel Group is a master franchise business operator for a lot of international brands into India. So we operate, to name a few, Bath & Body Works, Victoria Secret, Aldo, Charles & Keith, Beverly Hills Polo Club, and few more. So currently we are, for majority of our brands, online and offline, and servicing online through majority of our retail store network that we have. As a company, we were store first, And just before COVID in 2019, we sort of majorly went into the e-commerce side. And today a substantial part of our revenue comes from e-commerce. And I think what is core from a both the channels perspective is the consumer experience, and that's where we want to focus on as we go forward. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Adam Skinner, CitrusAd. So we are a little bit different to probably everybody on the panel. We're a provider, and we provide retail media network solutions for on-site, off-site, and in-store monetization. So we obviously saw, as some of the other panelists and some of the other sessions have said, prior to COVID, there was a lot of investment in brick and mortar stores. And during COVID, what occurred was this habitual change from brick and mortar shopping to literally online shopping, and so we there's a lot of challenges that retailers have, particularly around how do they actually monetize some of their on-site assets. So we provide that. We provide a solution that sits between the brand and the retailer, and ultimately allows the retailer to monetize both their on-site, off-site, and in-store assets, all in one single unified platform. What we saw post-pandemic, is rather interesting, because you would have seen a habitual change move from in-store to online, but what we're actually seeing is now it's actually complementary. So it's a full, true omni-channel experience. People are starting online, and then they're actually completing their sale, offline in a store, or they're competing with a loyalty card in store. So this true omni-channel experience is, I suppose, changing the way that people are shopping. We provide that solution to a retailer because, as we all know, e-commerce transformation is pretty expensive. It's expensive on the retailer, but it's also expensive, I suppose, on the consumer. And so what we provide is a mechanism for a retailer to actually offset that cost, of conducting e-commerce. So as we all know, when you push the trolley around a store, there's a lot of an emotion that goes into purchasing products. We're reliant on purchasing more than we need, or we're reliant on purchasing on emotion. And so when you convert all of that into an online sense, you're actually inhibiting the total cost of the basket. So we provide a way to provide personalization, back to the consumer, and then a form of ad revenue back to the retailer. But the brand is actually benefiting from getting their eyes on a page as well. So just to summarize, we're seeing the connection between on-site, off-site, and in-store. And post-pandemic, we haven't seen it go back to pre-pandemic levels, which is great.
Hi, good evening everyone. I am Atul Mehta. I am the Senior Vice President at Razorpay. Razorpay, we are the leading money movement provider for online till now, and we acquired i-TEK, and now we are the leading money movement provider across all channels, be it card present, card not present, means basically whether you swipe the card or you enter the card number, whatever it is. And we also do all types of money movement, as in inward money, outward money, payrolls, expenses, etc., etc., etc. So when I was going through this event today morning, one word which is omnipresent is omnichannel. Everybody has this word in some shape and form. So fundamentally, when you break down what it takes for a merchant or a business to be omnichannel, there are three things. One, you need to have an online and offline presence both. If you have an offline store, you need to have some online website or an app, or vice versa, first. Second, you need to have order management and inventory tagged. For example, if I buy this blazer online and want to return or exchange it offline, you should have the inventory tagging. Third is the payments and the money movement should be crystallized. So at Razorpay plus i-TEK, we do provide solutions for the first and the third part. We will help you set up online presence if you do not have one. Offline store, of course, you need to open yourself. And on the money movement part also, we do seamless integration between receiving money from anywhere and disbursing or settling money or, transacting. And also we help you with, a seamless dashboard, reconciliation, integration, all those things. So basically, other than your order and inventory tagging, we do have solutions for first and the third things. And I would strongly recommend, if you want to know more about it, as soon as you open the store, you enter our stall there. So as a salesman, I can't help making a small sales pitch. After this, just visit our stall. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Amit Dutta. I represent La Marche here. La Marche is a grocery and gourmet store. For us, the differentiators in terms of our value proposition was largely variety and experience. 95% plus merchandise at La Marche sells at MRP, which is quite unlike any other grocery store that you might have heard of. What really happens is that if you're focusing on variety and experience purely from an offline standpoint, life was easier pre-COVID. You had to ensure that the experience and variety was there. Given the catchment areas that we operate in, I'm sure some of the panelists on this panel as well might agree that we have a fairly loyal customer base. People love our brands wherever we are, and hence footfalls were guaranteed. Now, post-COVID, obviously things turned upside down in terms of customers wanting to buy digitally. So we've taken a three-pronged approach as far as our current omni-channel journey is concerned. One is to look at an external ecosystem given the kind of categories that we operate in. So be it partnering with the likes of a Zomato, Swiggy, Dunzo, etc., and ensuring that we are able to reach out to more and more customers through their platforms. Second, and perhaps the most tedious one, was coming up with our own digital commerce platform. So we have our own app, website, as well as conversational commerce, which we are trying to build as each day progresses. Third, and perhaps the most important one for us as an organization and for me as somebody leading that organization, was to ensure that digital becomes a way of life in the organization that I lead. So how do we actually leverage digital in our offline stores as well and get that advantage or additional experience to the consumer was something significantly important. Just as a simple example, how can we educate the consumer more and more about the products? Because earlier pre-COVID, it would have been done by some of the promoters telling you about the product. But post-COVID, many people are not really keen on having that physical interaction, and hence you put up those information on digital screens or tabs and educate more and more consumers about the product. There could also be QR codes which are there which complete the consumer journey as far as knowing more and more about the product is concerned. The second part of the question was largely about the nirvana state that everyone would be looking at. Now, from that perspective, I do have strong points wherein I genuinely believe that the grocery industry, and we've obviously seen the rise of quick commerce players or e-com players in the recent past. But my genuine belief is that the industry has taken a fairly myopic view as far as omnichannel is concerned. And this is primarily driven by fulfillment. So people are just trying to ensure that they are beating each other down in terms of the pace at which the delivery is happening, as well as the pricing. However, the consumer does not really buy like that, right? Let me give you a simple example that if you want to buy fruits and vegetables, right? As simple a category as that, you have a need state in mind, right? So if you have to buy a banana or an avocado as an example, you know what is it that you're going to prepare out of it. So whether you need it raw, you need it ripe, or you need it overripe, right? But no online player is even capturing that demand. In an offline play, at least you are going in with that need in your mind. You are ensuring that you are picking up something which is right for it by your touch and feel. But no online player has actually gone ahead and captured the need state as to what is it that you would really want. Even if they were to capture it today, they will need to build a backend wherein they are also able to map the product to your need state and then deliver it to you. That would be the complete omni-channel experience for an online consumer, because without going to the store, they are getting the product for the need state that they have, right? Similarly, for an offline consumer, if you walk into a store, you want to do a price comparison because that's something that you would want to do online when you're shopping, right? Can you do that price comparison? And is there any player who's offering that price comparison to you for all the categories that you're evaluating? So eventually what can happen is that you evaluate the product, you have your touch and feel there, and you make up your mind, but you go back and procure that product online. We at La Marche have done two interesting things in the very recent past, in the last week only, which I just want to talk about. One, we've provided this online comparison of pricing in our offline stores for a few select categories, right? so that consumers are able to complete their purchasing decision there and then. Second, with the advent of ChatGPT and the ease around it, we've also offered that support for certain categories. So if you want to understand which cheese will go with which wine, we have the answers available which are there on ChatGPT as well as a live ChatGPT support, so that that can also help your decision making. So that for me, wherein we are offering the complete experience to the consumer, is the real omni-channel. Fulfillment is just the first step towards it.
Hi everyone, good evening. This is Ankur Singhal. I am head of sales with Ecom Express. We are one of the largest logistics service provider today in the country, dedicated to B2C as an industry. So we do not do any other formats, but just B2C with highest coverage across the country. 27,000 plus pin codes is what we do. Now coming to the topic, I think what is important for us, and all of us are aware what happened during COVID. One of the industries which was still up and running during COVID was logistics, right? People were actually relying upon us. People call it as the backbone of the retail and the e-commerce industry in India. Now, what was there pre-COVID and what you see after COVID, there is a 2x jump in the market. We were doing about 3.5% as B2C retail in India versus what we see now is about 5.5%. In terms of numbers, the industry today does about 80 lakh shipments to 1 crore shipments a day. And that's the size of the industry. Now, for us as the service providers, what it takes for us to ensure that the same experience that we're providing to a customer in India is also provided to a customer who is sitting in a tier 3, tier 4 city is the most important thing. And there is a whole lot of science, which goes behind. There are, processing facilities which are 100% automated. 95% of the volume today which moves, in the ecosystem today runs through these automated facilities to ensure that we process these shipment at a very fast pace and, reach them or make them reach at the destination in a faster manner so that the customer experience is taken care of. Now, what also happened is, let's say in the last 10 years, the industry saw the evolution of e-commerce. And also, we saw the establishment of players like Amazon and Flipkart, which were traditionally warehouse-led models, versus what we see now is also a seller-based ecosystem now, which is evolving very fast. So there was also a need to, align with the pace of the industry and also ensure that, we reach every single seller in the market today, pick up the shipments and not just warehouses. That also became extremely important. There is again a data science team which sits in the back, ensures that we create centroids, around the cities to ensure that every single seller is covered in a manner that, the shipments are picked up in time, connected in time, and, they are reaching the destination in time. Also, what has happened is, as I mentioned that we are present everywhere in the country, it also becomes extremely important that you offer the same services, which means, let's say COD is one of the enablers of the industry, which is B2C. And we provide COD service everywhere in the country. So if I deliver a shipment today, collect the COD on my shipper's behalf, I'm able to remit it back to them either tomorrow or day after. That speeds up the cycle for them and helps them creating the financial health of the company. Second thing is returns. When we look at returns, that is another area wherein customers want an immediate refund. Now how that happens at the back end, you place a request, I go to your doorstep, ensures, I do certain validations on the screen basis the inputs that the shipper has given to me. I says, okay, pickup is done successfully, and immediately you see a refund, which comes to your account. That is the kind of customer experience that we're talking about today. And as we grow further, and move more towards the real Bharat is where we see more of these challenges coming in. And as organizations, as service providers, we are working on a lot of things which will ensure that these things and the demands and everything else is taken care of. So thank you.
So good evening everyone. I'm Archana. I work as consultant with Zebra's strategic advisory practice. Zebra is into enterprise asset intelligence technology. We help customer create, visualize and implement the whole digital transformation in data capture space, right? So the way I would want to answer this question is in two ways. First, dwell into what this 360-degree view is all about, and then help you understand how Zebra is prepping up for that. So when I look at the traditional retail, it's very linear, right? You create a product, it used to be passed on to a warehouse, then a store, and store was the place where customer would go buy the product and even return the product. And return was a challenge, as you said. So coming to this 360-degree view, the customer has come into the center, right? Customer is the epicenter, and each party is around it as an ecosystem, and this ecosystem needs to be built up, right? Now, the customer today is you and me, and we are demanding, right? We have our own profile, we have our own choices, we have our own conveniences, we have our own fulfillment thinking, right? There is a price sensitivity, as he said. Each of this requirement is an opportunity, and these opportunities can be enabled by technology, right? It can help connect dots. Now, when you're getting this 360-degree view for your customer, you cannot leave behind your staff associate, because he or she is a pivotal link between the retailer and the customer. If your customer is aware, your staff associate be much more aware to handle the customer and make that informed decision, right? So this whole digitized product journey that we are hearing needs to be made available to your staff associate as well. All that I mean is there needs to be a visibility of asset, people, inventory across the value chain, and that information needs to be made available to right person at right time, so that you're either selling a product or an experience to your customer, right? Why am I saying this, right? We are a technology company, but we definitely think technology is an enabler, and we always start with business outcomes. So we have defined this whole futuristic modern store framework where we will always start with outcomes. What do you want to achieve, right? And that outcome could be empower my associate, optimize my inventory, and accordingly, then we get into a customer engagement to identify what they really want and then give them that roadmap. I would highly ask you to go visit our store. It's just next step. And we would like to take you through this journey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Ashim Patil. I represent i-TEK RFID. So omnichannel fulfillment and increasing the rate of omnichannel fulfillment has been one of the key drivers for investment in item level RFID, especially in the apparel and footwear business format. So what we achieve basically is the physical inventory accuracy to the extent of 99% plus. If we have to draw an analogy, we are what blockchain is to the digital world, we are to the physical world and to the physical products. You know, we track the source, we reconcile the destination. So in omnichannel, our customers who have already walked on this journey, the way they are getting benefited by RFID is on three aspects. One is basically the safety stock. There's zero safety stock requirement which our customers have adopted. Second is the picking time. Because of our Geiger and directional search, the picking time, which was typically few hours, is in most of the cases it is less than a minute or so. And the third is few of our customers are drawing and building an analytic on how RFID omnichannel fulfillment is getting them the carbon credit. So I'll draw you an example here. If I am at a pin code in South Mumbai and I want a white shirt, the white shirt is in a store at South Mumbai. The old conventional algorithm, it was most likely that the order is sent to a delivery center somewhere in Bhiwandi, you know, because you had to fulfill the order and you are not sure whether the physical size and the color and everything is available in that store. With RFID, now the order goes to that particular store, which is just a mile away from the customer. So the carbon footprint has reduced drastically and the customers have started building an analytics around it. So just drawing an analogy. So these are three key takeaways why there's an investment happening to enrich the omnichannel experience using RFID. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Mohit Khattar. I'm the CEO of Graviss Foods. For those of you who may not know, Graviss Foods is the master franchise operator for the brand Baskin Robbins. At Baskin Robbins, we currently run about 850 odd stores across India and the SAARC region. And we are available in about 225 odd cities. As far as building the entire omni-channel business for our brand is concerned, we started the journey somewhere in 2017, maybe, so that's about 5 or 6 years ago, pretty much pre-COVID. And however, the way we approached it was to ensure that our products were available online. Rather than building our own omni-channel play, we prefer to go through the aggregator route. So it was both aggregators, e-commerce platforms, etc. When I say aggregators, I'm talking about the likes of Swiggy, Zomato, etc., as well as the e-commerce platforms, which includes players like Big Basket, or today you have Instamart and Zepto and Dunzo and so on and so forth. And pretty much later in the game, we started our own omni-channel play. Today, our omni-channel play is across 10 cities and maybe about 200, 250 odd stores is where we have our own omni-channel play. How does this do? It does pretty well. Today, a third of our business comes through online customers, not necessarily through our own omni-channel play, but essentially through online consumers, people who are willing to purchase the product online. Building a completely seamless operation in a food-related industry where you are delivering the product when the customer has ordered it and wants it there and then, you can build a seamless journey. But is it the same journey that the customer has in the offline space? The answer is very clearly no. I mean, for those of you who possibly visit ice cream parlors, you would know that you possibly never get into an ice cream parlor and you never get out without really trying 2 or 3 flavors. Does that happen in the online space? Can it happen in the online space? I'm not so sure. It doesn't. Maybe, our valuable tech partners here can possibly, suggest solutions. But currently, we have seamless journeys, but we don't have the same journeys. From, our perspective as a retailer, do we have hold of all the data? Do we know exactly who's buying offline and who's buying online and how exactly their behavior is? I possibly know very well who my offline customers are, purely because we are able to capture all that information very well. But due to the fact that our online play is largely through third-party aggregators, we don't have visibility of customer data. And even if we want to build a consolidated single unique view of a customer, we are unable to do so because data sharing is absolutely not the done thing, as far as some of the players are concerned. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing. In building our own omni-channel play, we are still taking baby steps, early years, I guess. But yeah, the challenges, there are quite a few, and maybe we'll talk about it as we go ahead.
Thank you so much. We've clearly spent about half the time we had on the first inputs, which is great because we got to some level of depth on multiple industries. So, while this was going and I was trying to take my notes, some interesting ideas came from Amit on how they've actually done some innovative stuff on top of the standard technologies that are available. So, the way I've seen it, the enabling infrastructure to go omni-channel, the way it is available today compared to what it was maybe 5 years ago, is very different. There's a lot of logistics supply available. There's tech enablers available on inventory management, be it RFID or other mechanisms. There is a cold chain supply chain for last mile consumer deliveries for 2, let's say, cups of ice cream that can happen today. The payment system have really changed in terms of how the success rate is or how the MDR actually operates. So the world has come a long distance in the last 5 years on how the enabling infrastructure exists. And in the next few years, probably a lot of this would become table stakes. So when I say table stakes, it's like if you're not doing this, you're probably doing something wrong because the consumer is actually spoiled. He already has high expectation benchmarks set by some of the big guys that you're all competing with. And he's fickle-minded, so he's not going to remain loyal to you unless you serve his needs the best way, whether it's convenience or it's price or it's variety and experience as we heard. So in that world, in a couple of years from now, what aspect of your play you think, and if you're willing to share some of those secrets, would remain the source of differentiation as a brand, as a differentiator, or as a enabler? How do you enable differentiation in a world where technology and some of these things which we are still considering as aspirational will become standard, will become table stakes? So omni-channel fulfillment is table stakes. In 2 years, every brand would probably have it. In that world, and in a tech savvy or data savvy world, the world of parachute kind of brand building where you have a unified message which you're blasting across channels will not remain, right? So how do you enable a differentiated consumer experience as a brand in a tech commoditized world, in an omni-channel world? That's probably where I'd love to spend some time. You can wait and somebody else wants to go first.
Does somebody else want to go first?
Okay, when you spoke about differentiators, there are two ideological differentiators that we have at Razorpay. Okay, and I've spoken about these at multiple forums, and they continue to be our ideological differentiators. First thing is, there are payment companies and money movement companies who use technology. Razorpay is a technology company who is into money movement. Okay, so, and this is not just some word jumble that I've invented or something. This is more the DNA that we have, that we'll first think of tech. Technology is our backbone, it is our DNA, and our core competency is using technology to solve the problems and bringing out the differentiators. I'll give you a couple of examples. I don't have much time, I know it. In the last 5 years, in the online payment system, anything and everything that has happened, we've been the first ones or the joint first to do those things, be it, these tokenization, be it your UPI intent, etc., etc., etc. And we feel that technology and only technology can solve for scale. And it can also help you build those differentiators at scale. Because it's very easy to start something and maybe do it at 1 players, 2 players, 3 players, but to do at scale, you need technology. So that's our first differentiator. Second differentiator that we always feel is that whenever I'm asked who's your biggest competition, is it someone like say a PayU or a BillDesk or a Paytm? So our clear answer is no, they are not our competition, they are our friends. Because all of us are solving the same problem of digitization of money. Our biggest competition is cash. And that is what we want to take out of the system. Just to give you one small data point, that India is a $3 trillion GDP right now, and around $45 trillion of money changes hands every year. Any guesses on how much of this is digital out of $45 trillion? Any guesses? $5 trillion. That's it. The rest 40 comes from NEFT transfer. I'm not saying cash. When I say non-digital, I don't mean cash. I'm saying it still comes out of some physical transfers, or you go to a bank, or you write a check, or you step out of the system basically and do some other transaction. That is what we want to solve for. And omni-channel is one way of solving it, that we don't want anyone to go out of the system. For example, if I'm shopping at a Marche store today, and it's like, 2 of the products that I need are not available there. So I can just buy them, pay for them, they can deliver to my place. So just one very crude example of how omnichannel can be enabled. So what we are aiming for is making sure that the customer comes in the system, completes the entire journey, and then goes out of the system. So 2 differentiators, first being technology, second being cash is our biggest competition.
I think from our perspective, and mainly as a retailer perspective, tech is something that's always going to be outsourced by us. So it can be probably not a very big differentiator for us. Whether it's the last mile delivery, again, it's going to be outsourced to a third party player. I think brand is something that's always going to be remaining a differentiator, whether it's your physical store or online world. How you're sort of presenting the value proposition to the customer, what's the content that's driving that up is going to be mainly differentiating if the customer makes a choice of buying the product or not.
Yeah, go. Should I take it? So completely agree with my friend, what he mentioned. As companies, even our DNA is not technology. Our DNA is running offline stores. We are trying to, as I mentioned when I was speaking last, that we are trying to get on to the bandwagon. Is technology going to become a differentiator for us? Possibly not. What is going to be the differentiator? Like very much he mentioned, our product and our brand is going to be our biggest differentiator. I mean, today if I tell you that somebody makes oil-based ice cream, whereas we make, dairy and cream-based ice cream, to me that's a differentiator. The differentiator is not, what I'm projecting online or how I'm delivering online. Yes, that's an enabler to sale, but yeah, it's an enabler. My core product proposition is not going to go away anywhere. To me, that will be my differentiator. How am I therefore going to leverage this technology? Possibly by ensuring that I'm able to build, number one, seamless journeys across various touch points. So whether it's my social media platforms, whether it's customers coming in through Google search, or whether it's customers coming directly onto my online platform, or whether they are buying on a Swiggy or a Zomato, or whether they are buying offline, if I can build seamless journeys everywhere, and if I can continue to have a unique view of that customer and be able to build propositions for them across all platforms, to me, that's aspirational. It may be very basic for the tech world, but for us as offline players, that's aspirational at this point of time.
So coming from a technology company, right, I have a slightly different view here. So I'll talk about Zebra differentiation later, but then today if you see everybody is talking RFID, right? But at the same time, active RFID is gaining momentum. Few years down the line, active RFID would be coming in as well, right? Or, yeah, it depends. Not each customer has adopted it. The adoption level is low, right? Matter of time, that's what I'm coming. So matter of time, the technology which is in today becomes a hygiene factor later on, and some other technology takes up, right? So for a technology company, you can't always be throwing technology into the customer requirements. It's all about how you approach the customer challenges. And there is where we as Zebra gets the differentiation, because as I said, it's not about technology for us. It's about what do you want as your business outcome? So as you said, it's a seamless customer journey. So if you want seamless customer journey, what does that really mean? Does it mean that your customer should be able to walk out of the store really fast, not waste time? Does it mean that your customer needs some personalization? Then that's a different technology comes into play. I personally feel the next norm for even omni-channel is going to be unified commerce, right? It's like a strategy where you have a unified platform, taking in all the data, doing analysis, interacting with all the systems that are there today, CRM, SRM, web commerce, e-commerce, and then giving insights for customer experience. So that's how I see things going on.
I would like to talk a little bit from the logistics service provider's perspective. Because see, to us, when we place an order online, we expect the package to come to us, in the committed time. And that's about it. We are not worried about what kind of address we have, what kind of locality we have, and we expect the partners to do everything, right? And more so for people in metros, I don't think it's a problem. But as we go deeper into real Bharat, that's where the main problem lies. For example, more than 10% of the addresses today that we receive are bad, or I can maybe call them as junk. Let's say it is a Shankar Chowk and Thane and just some pin code. So I don't know what do I do with that address, because I don't know where to go. I can just call up the customer maybe and see if he picks up the phone. And a lot of time, that also goes maybe unanswered or whatever, and we're not able to deliver. Now to solve these kind of problems, what we're doing, through the data science, we're trying to create a solution. We have a database of millions of shipments that we have with us, basis the historical deliveries. Trying to work out with the customers and through the in-house tech to see if there is a customer wherein, let's say I've delivered minimum X number of times at a certain geocode, I will block it in the system. I wouldn't let my delivery guy on ground to update an incorrect address or address not available or address not found, these kind of things. What that will do is it will prompt the delivery guy to go, make a little extra effort and still ensure the shipment is attempted or delivered. Number one. Number two is, let's say we're talking about scenarios wherein you mentioned that can we offer customers some services wherein they want to do try and buy. Well, I am offering exchange today. You go, the question is, are the customers or consumers ready to pay for it? I can create a solution wherein I go on your behalf, open a 5 package and ask him to try and return the rest. Or the other is exchange. When you place a return request, you obviously also order for another item in most of the scenarios. Can I make it a scenario wherein I just come to your doorstep once, which means I will return I will take the packet return as well as I deliver the another packet that you're expecting. So these kind of solutions, are the ones which are now coming into, and we are working through our tech teams to ensure that we come up with more such solutions. OTPs is the basic now. I think that's done and dusted. Nobody talks about it, but for us that also matters, because when I actually mark a package as undelivered today, customer questions me, and there is a whole lot of social media that opens up the package was not attempted. But with OTP, what happens is I know that the consignee has actually given me the OTP and he says, boss, I don't need this packet. So from a service provider's perspective, I know that I've done my part, and that's all I could do. But it also gives you as a faith, the shipper or the company of faith, that my service provider has actually collected the OTP, and we are, let's say, about 90% of the times we are aligned. Customer says, yes, because I know my customer has actually refused this package. Now, can we preempt the customers to make it otherwise? Let's say, of the bad addresses that I mentioned, can at the time of pickup or manifestation itself, I tell them, boss, these are the addresses that we see as incorrect. Would you want to work with your customers and get the right addresses, so that by the time we actually reach the customer's doorstep, we know the right address and we just deliver on that? Or the customers have the facility to give us the geocodes, and my delivery guy just follows the geocodes and reach the customer location. So those are the kind of solutions that we are trying to work around to ensure, as I mentioned, the customer experience is taken care of, not in just metros, but also, across the real Bharat, or, as we go deeper into these cities.
Sure, I think from a differentiation standpoint, I'd like to just simplify it to 3 basic axes, right? The first is the organizational mindset. I genuinely believe that we should stop solving for the channel problem and start looking at the customer problem. What is it that the customer really needs? We'd have to accept the fact, as offline players earlier, that now the customer is shopping both online and offline. What are the problems that he's facing in both the channels, and how can we solve them? The answer can come either from offline or online or a mix of the two. But let's just solve that, right? As one of the examples that I gave earlier, is he getting the right quality when he is buying online? If the answer is no, if we need to put in artificial intelligence to solve the quality problem at the back end and ensure that the right quality FNV is put to his house, so be it, right? One of the advantages or disadvantages that, let's say, us as offline retailers have is the fact that we are not selling our own product or brand. We are selling somebody else's brand, and therefore there is the option for the consumer to buy from somewhere else. Hence, it is more and more imperative for us as an organization to be able to ensure that we give as seamless or as complete an experience to the consumer to ensure that he continues to buy from us. Right? The second aspect that I'd like to touch upon here is around the organization's capability to adopt to this change. Right? I'm sure Mohit would agree with me that the pace of evolution of customers is far higher than the pace of evolution of our employees. Right? The customers can evolve almost overnight and turn into omni-channel customers. The employees don't. Right? Just as a simple example, like I mentioned earlier, the store executives only needed to ensure that the store looks spick and span. Cut to today, there are multiple screens open on their laptops trying to figure a way around catalog management of Zomato, which is different from Swiggy, which is different from Dunzo, which is different from our own digital commerce, which is different from our own conversational commerce. And the number of home delivery orders or WhatsApp orders or calls or messages on WhatsApp is significantly higher than earlier, right? Now, do we expect the employee to actually bridge this gap overnight, or what is it that we are doing as an organization to be able to minimize the lag in terms of evolution of the customers and employees is something that will hold the organization in good stead in the long term. Right? One simple example that we've done at Marche is that we've transformed our audits into digital audits now, right? Which basically means that no longer a head office employee needs to go and see if the store has been kept in the right shape or size. It's simply the fact that there is an app. There are certain questions. The answers have to be in the form of images. Those images as a control cannot be uploaded from the gallery, and then there is a start and end time for the audit. So at any point in time, all the HODs of my team have on their phone the look and feel of the stores for all the key elements at that particular instant in time. We are now trying to move it to the next step, wherein the CCTV cameras, as an example, can be used for this audit so that it's more and more real time, right? Thirdly, again, as offline players, we will never ever get into the stage wherein we'll invest into our own tech teams, and hence the tech partners become important. I genuinely believe that, Indians are emotional people. We are always happy to, forgive an error by a human. So store execs have their life easier to that extent. But a technical glitch is something that we are not okay to let go of, or we'll not forget that in a hurry. So just choose your tech partners wisely would be my last advice.
So I think some of the challenges that everyone on the panel has represented as well is like, when you look at it, we've got the deprecation of third-party cookies that's occurring now. You've got IDFA changes coming in on how we actually track people on mobile. Okay, so how do we actually build a full omni-channel experience? Okay, and I suppose what a lot of retailers, brands, aggregators and advertisers are looking for is how do they actually contain all of this in one unified approach. So the right message at the right time, delivered on the right platform to the right person. And I think these are going to be challenges that everyone's going to have to solve in the next few years in order to remain competitive. And it really doesn't matter if you're selling your own product, okay, or you're selling a collection of other brands' products. It's going to be really how do you actually give that full seamless experience to the consumer. And I suppose at Citrus we always talk about the 3 circles have to be equally benefited. The consumer has to be delivered the right ad at the right time. You can't be blasting incorrect or non-relevant or non-contextual ads to the consumer. That's not gonna benefit anyone. The retailer needs to be benefited as well by building out additional revenue streams on their platforms. And then the advertiser needs to be benefited because they're the ones that are putting dollars into the platform in order to build this full omni-channel experience. So how do all those worlds connect together? And I think that's what's going to the retailers and the advertisers that do this well in the future. They're the ones that are going to come out on top.
So somewhere or the other, what I hear is being an early adopter in technology, specifically in your, let's say, competitive space, might give you an edge, but there's always going to be a catch-up game that people will play. So in some sense, it's a constant evolution. It's not like a steady state that will happen in 5 years from now. What is aspirational today will become commodity tomorrow. A lot of stuff that wasn't existent 5 years ago is now available, probably readily, probably even commercially a lot more viable than it was earlier. And I heard you say that the brand will become a source of differentiation. And I would love to double click on this, given that the amount of D2C brands that are getting born, the amount of noise that's there on the advertising ecosystem now from a consumer point of view, and the nature of fragmentation in the consumer ecosystem, because people have become a little more discerning, a little more demanding in that sense. And in that world of several different consumer segments that you'll have to deal with, how do you create a cohesive brand story while remaining relevant to multiple segments? Is that a topic that
I think at the end of the day, customer should be in the center of everything we do. Whether it's the offline business, whether it's the online business, they have a very simple need of buying a product through a simple process and a quick delivery to wherever they are. And I think we need to, as retailers, enable that environment within our business. Unified commerce is going to be basic hygiene in the next few years. As the consumer is evolving and aging and the younger consumer is coming up in the value chain, we would see their requirements being very different to what the requirements are today. Yeah. We might have to sell on metaverse tomorrow and not in physical store. That could be a reality because half of the kids are into that space at the moment. So will they be shopping in physical world? Will they be shopping in metaverse? So we will be driven by where our consumer is, what the expectation is, and what's the best available tech delivery mechanism in the market and integrate that.
In tune with the times, always in tune with the needs of the time, of course.
Absolutely. You have to, otherwise you will not be there.
Sure.
Just adding a quick point here, when my friend said that customers can change overnight, it's also depends on why has the customer changed. Sometimes it's a forced change. For example, during COVID, in payments world, at least we saw people who were asking us for cash management solutions and check collection solutions. They wanted us to automate NEFT and RTGS because nobody wants cash or check now. So that's also a environment-induced change, and technology has to be ready for it. You can't say that my technology was designed for cash management, I can't do a check management. So I'm just giving you an example of payments world that, the technology is not something that you continue building without looking into mind the customer. And as he said rightly, customer is the king, customer is the epicenter. Whatever customer demands, the technology has to respond at speed.
Sure. We have the last 9 or 10 minutes left of the conversation. So what I would love to do is make it a little lighter, but also informative. So all of you have been individual consumers to a variety of brands, India and internationally. What I would love to do is for you to think back for a moment, talk about the best omni-channel experience, the aha moment that you've had as a consumer. And obviously, all of you now have the chops to kind of get your journey in that direction, right? So, if you can pick examples from your own experiences with brands, India or international as a consumer, what was the aha moment you had? Oh, dude, these guys are doing something very cool, right? So anybody who wants to take a stab at this?
Yeah, there's no aha moment as such, but like what we were just discussing, that omni-channel is going to become like salt in the table. So a few months back, I went to shop at one of the big ethnic clothes brands in our country. So a family walked in from Dhanbad in that store, and I think they had come for a wedding shopping, so they didn't get the stuff that they were looking for. And instead of the salesman asking them, should I omni it to you or should I parcel it to you, the customer themselves went and asked to the salesman that, ghar bhej dijiye na. Matlab, every day you cannot come from Dhanbad to a bigger city. So, I think we should all, I know it's challenging omni, but adaptation to these, like a few years back, even since we have a lot of stores in tier 3 and 4 markets, few years back, customers were not willing to give their phone numbers. They were like, kya kar lega mera phone number se? So, but now, if we see these customers are coming and showing, because everyone is using the customer relationship management thing to issue coupons and all, they are coming and showing, bhaiya mera discount de dijiye. So, the similar thing might happen with Omni. So even if it's painful, we need to sow the seeds. Yeah.
I think we, in Dubai, we just opened a concept, the first phygital store in Dubai for our multi-brand e-commerce platform called 6th Street. And I think if anybody is visiting, I would highly recommend them to actually go and just experience that. Because they have sort of brought down the e-commerce word to a physical space. And so the front end is completely digital, but you still have fitting rooms to just choose. So I think the way they have structured out the whole service mechanism is really, really cool. And I think that's something that we'll see more and more happening. At the moment, the physical brands are going into the e-com space. I think there is going to be a reverse order too.
Interesting. Sure. Anybody else? More examples? Archana, you had something to say.
I'm going to give, this is an Indian grocery store out here in BKC. So they have deployed this shop as you go solution, right? You enter the shop, pick a device, give your mobile number, go do your shopping, do your checkout, and you're out. You don't really need any assistance in there. So I think that's a solution that's gaining traction. Indians are adopting it. But if you look at the Europe market, they're going a level further. It's like a smart trolley. So you have a digital screen on your trolley, and you take that along your shopping experience. It's not fully there, but people are trying that out. I think that's really going to be something cool.
You're sitting right next to Ashim. Ashim, do you see that happening in India yet? I'm assuming you're offering that solution already.
She is mentioning about a store in India.
Okay. Yeah, so that's your problem?
This is something similar we have done at other brands, but definitely I would like to add something that my number one choice or experience is 6th Street.
Okay,
sir,
sure.
And my colleagues, we are a big fan of it. We have visited it, shown around in the store by your colleagues in Dubai. It will be much better with the use of RFID though. That is what we are proposing. But it is number one. And number two is if you can visit a brand called White Crow. White Crow is a bookstore in the Geo World City. They are using technology. They are our customer as well. And it's a bookstore and a coffee shop, and just the ease at which they can go and quickly search for a book of your choice of author, and similar kind of books and similar kind of genres and all. It's a great experience. I think that is number 2 for me. White Crow.
Sure. So White Crow is one more brand to experience with. Atul?
So my truest and earliest omnichannel experience was actually not omnichannel. It was because of relationship-driven omnichannel, I'll say. This is Baskin's Robbins stores at a mall in Amritsar. Okay, so we went there, had ice cream, and I love dark chocolate. So he ran out of that, and I was like, यार ये पैक भी करवाना था. तो he's like, एड्रेस लिख जाओ, शाम तक घर आ जाएगी. मैं कहा शाम को IPL मैच, उससे पहले आ जानी चाहिए. 7 o'clock match starts, 6:30 I have the ice cream at my doorstep, man. That was the real delight moment. And thanks to that person there at the Baskin, I don't remember his name, from 5 years ago. So he was not maybe educated in omnichannel or something, but this was pure relationship driven omnichannel. He said, "Sir, आप घर जाइए, ice cream पहुंच जाएगी आपके घर."
Yeah, customer journey being at the center of it.
It's about the customer journey. It's about managing customer expectations.
Yeah. So you're
not necessarily about
exactly. It's not technology. It's your folks have been doing it all the way.
So I think that's kind of where what Rittick said was whether you want it or not, whether you like it or not, customers even 5 years ago wanted ice cream delivered at home. I was at a medical lab today morning, and they were probably going to take 20 minutes to get me the printout of the report. I said, just email it to me. I mean, that's normal, right? You would not wait to receive something which is physical. Most retail stores are probably issuing bills which are on WhatsApp now. They don't want to give physical bills out. It's a waste of paper. The customer also is okay to give his phone number because they know that they're going to be a part of a system. Their entire transaction history will get tracked, and they'll probably get some benefits out of it. So that world has changed, and a lot of retailers are sitting on a large pile of customer data in terms of transaction behavior, in terms of loyalty points they've accrued across different kind of points of sale they've interfaced at. So yeah, all very interesting. Maybe we have room for an audience question. I mean, I'm happy to have more experiences of omni play that you saw in action and you were excited about, maybe.
Look, I'll give you an example from Australia. If anyone can pick, I'm an Australian from the accent.
Of course.
Hopefully everyone can pick. So we have a lot of drive-through bottle shops in Australia, okay, because of the heat. No one wants to get out of the car. One of our brands in Australia called BWS, they have a full online experience. You can buy whatever you need to online, okay, and then you put in all your details and you literally drive up to the drive-through, and they've already got your order prepped, okay, and so this full seamless experience, okay, and then when you leave there, they're sending you offers for the next time to try and get you back in the store. Sure. How they connect that online and offline world is pretty mind blowing, because they're doing thousands of orders a day with people driving up. So getting the right order to the right customer at the right time, it's pretty impressive.
My hunch is that's going to become the next standard, because there are, I mean, at some point it used to be your own technology dependency on in-house teams. Mahindra, i-TEK, you have made it easily accessible to a large number of companies without having to deploy their own tech efforts. But at the same time, I think the adoption rates would be different. Ankur, you have something to add?
Oh, sorry. So now that we see that the SME play is growing in India, right? What we've done is, we've come up with a solution wherein it will just take a customer 30 minutes to onboard himself as a vendor on my platform and dispatch his orders the same day probably, right? So, just have to put in the basic details. There is a wallet, you just add money, put in a request and you're done. And this is typically because we see a lot of, emergence coming in from the markets like Surat, Jaipur, typically these kind of markets wherein WhatsApp, through Instagram or through different channels, are coming online. So that's where, we created this platform for them. Not only this, we've also come up with a solution wherein we have OMS and WMS facilities as well. So to a starter, because logistics seems to be a complex world, but to a starter, I mean, these things really help and they can just, onboard.
So, well, I would only say that as a consumer, I'm half spoiled or maybe fully, and I'm only going to get worse from here. More demanding, more high on my expectations, and looking forward to all the extra effort that brands put in to make it more easy, seamless, exciting for me. Thank you so much, everyone. You've been an amazing panel. Thank you, the audience. We're perfectly on time so far. Thank you so much.